Today, we're diving deep into a battlefield you can't see, one that's raging inside millions of us, probably right now. It's this unseen war we're fighting against bacteria, and it's really the story of how we got so clever at winning it. So let's get into it.
I mean, we've all been there, right? You feel sick, you go to the doctor, you get a prescription for an antibiotic, and a few days later, you feel better. But have you ever stopped to think, what is actually going on in there? How does that little pill know exactly what to do? Well, it's not just some random chemical reaction. It's way more like a strategic military operation. And the key to winning any war is knowing your enemy, finding their weakness, and hitting them where it hurts. And that is exactly what antibiotics are designed to do. So the first step in any campaign is reconnaissance, right? We have to understand the invader, this bacterial cell, and find some kind of fatal flaw, some vulnerability in its design that, crucially, our own cells don't have. And when we look closely, we find the perfect target. You see, bacterial cells are surrounded by this rigid, tough outer layer called a cell wall. They absolutely need it to survive. But ourselves, we don't have one. We just have a soft, flexible membrane. And that one difference, that's the whole game. It's our bullseye. It means we can create a weapon that only goes after that cell wall, leaving our own cells completely unharmed. So what is this wall even made of? Well, it's a super tough mesh-like material called peptidoglycan. The best way to picture it is like the reinforced concrete you'd use to build a fortress. It's what gives the bacteria its strength and protects it from the outside world. And here's the thing, this fortress is constantly being built and repaired. The bacteria creates these long chains of peptidoglycan, and then this special enzyme comes along called DD-transpeptidase. Think of this enzyme as the master builder on the construction site. Its only job is to weave and lock those chains together, creating that strong, stable wall. So, what if we could take out the builder? So now that we have our target, that master builder and the whole construction process, we can bring in our specialized demolition crew. We can deploy the wall busters. And these weapons belong to a famous family of antibiotics called the Beta-lactams. Penicillin is the most well-known member. What they all have in common is a very specific chemical structure called a beta-lactam ring. This little ring, this is their secret weapon. It's the key to the whole operation. Okay, so here's how the sabotage works. The antibiotic, let's say penicillin, shows up at the construction site. That special beta-lactam ring is the perfect shape to fit right into the master builder enzyme. It basically gums up the works, jamming the enzyme's machinery. So now, the builder is completely neutralized. It can't link the wall materials together, the fortress develops cracks, it weakens, and pretty soon, the whole bacterial cell just falls apart. Mission accomplished. And this is the most brilliant part of the whole strategy. Because our human cells don't have a cell wall, and we don't have that master builder enzyme, the antibiotic just floats right by. It has literally nothing to attack. It's a precision strike on the enemy, with zero collateral damage to our own troops. All right, so let's zoom in a bit on the OG wall buster, the one that started this entire revolution in medicine, penicillin. So what kind of missions do we send penicillin on? Well, a really easy way to remember its main uses is with the mnemonic P-PAX. This covers things like pneumonia and pharyngitis, which is just the fancy term for strep throat, plus skin issues like abscesses and cellulitis, kidney infections, and even syphilis. Of course, no weapon is perfect, and there are always risks. For penicillin, the potential side effects can be remembered with the word pains. P is for the penicillin allergy, which is pretty well known. But it also covers things like anemia, kidney inflammation, general nausea or gut problems, and something called superinfections, where other germs can take over. But, the story didn't just stop with penicillin. Just like in any arms race, that original breakthrough was just the beginning. It was studied, it was tweaked, and it evolved into an entire arsenal of different but related drugs. The beta-lactam family is actually much bigger than you might think. Of course you have the penicillins, but then you also have major players like the Cephalosporins, the really heavy-hitting Carbapenems, and the more specialized Monobactams. Each one uses that same basic wall-busting trick, but they're all optimized for different kinds of fights. Let's take a quick look at Cephalosporins. You can think of them as the next evolution of penicillin. They're what we call broad spectrum, meaning they can fight a much wider range of bacteria. In fact, they've been developed over 5 whole generations, each one getting better and more versatile. And yep, they have their own set of potential side effects. And another handy mnemonic to remember them, CABGS. The C here is a big one. It stands for cross-reactivity. That means if you're allergic to penicillin, you might have a reaction to these too. The rest are pretty similar to penicillin. Other allergic reactions, bleeding risk, GI issues, and superinfections.
Then you have the Carbapenems. Okay, this is the heavy artillery. These are incredibly powerful, very broad-spectrum antibiotics, and doctors usually keep them in reserve as a last resort. When you're dealing with a really serious multi-drug-resistant infection in a hospital, this is the big gun you call in.
And finally, there are the Monobactams. These are the specialists, the snipers of the group. While the others are designed to fight a broad range of enemies, Monobactams are highly targeted. They primarily go after one specific class of bacteria, the gram-negatives. But here's the twist. This was never a one-sided war. The bacteria didn't just lay down and die. Oh no, they adapted. They evolved. The enemy started to fight back. So how did they do it? They developed a countermeasure. They started producing their own enzyme, called beta-lactamase. And this enzyme acts like a defensive shield. Its one and only job is to find our antibiotic's secret weapon, that beta-lactam ring, and destroy it, literally disarming our missile before it can even reach the fortress wall. And that brings us to the modern state of this arms race. To get around the bacteria's shield, we now often have to use a 1-2 punch. We'll pair our antibiotic with another drug, an inhibitor. The inhibitor's job is to go in first and block the bacteria's shield, which then allows our original antibiotic to sneak past and take down the wall builder. It's this constant back and forth of innovation. So this brings us right to the front lines of medicine today. This unseen war is nowhere near over. Bacteria are constantly, relentlessly evolving new ways to defend themselves. And that leaves us with a really critical question. As the enemy keeps getting smarter and building better defenses,